Welcome back again to Education Media YouTube channel. And I'm excited to meet you once again to share my knowledge and insights with you on my recent study experience and also a variety of topics. So consider subscribing, like, comment and share to help a brother or sister somewhere. With that, be relaxed and enjoy the content of today's episode. Without further ado, let's get started. Summary of the National Standards for Ghanaian Teachers Guidelines. Introduction. What are these standards for? For pre-service and in-service teachers. Teachers play such a critical role in inspiring and challenging students to achieve their potential that their preparation and subsequent development require the highest possible standards in knowledge, conduct and practice in their workplace. These standards are concise written statements of what teachers are expected to know and be able to do. The National Teachers Standards set out the minimum levels of practice that all trained teachers must reach by the end of their pre-service teacher education course in order to play such a critical role. These standards also inform teachers' development while in their first year as beginning teachers on their induction course in schools prior to licensing as professional teachers by the National Teaching Council and provide the framework for future professional and career development for all teachers. The standards should be seen as one common core set of standards that apply to all teachers at all levels. The exemplar that accompany the standards at the end of these guidelines gives specific exemplars of the standards in action at the kindergarten, primary, junior high school and senior high school levels to give further support for those using them. The indicators provide evidence of attainment of the standards. For in-service teachers. Specific to in-service teachers, the pre-tertiary teachers' standards for Ghana are concise statements of what teachers are expected to know, understand and be able to do as teachers to ensure they continually improve their own learning as well as those they teach. The standards aim at ensuring that as teachers move up from one rank to the other in their career, they are empowered to engender effective learning among those they are expected to teach. At each stage of their journey to become accomplished teachers, the standards expect teachers to demonstrate good knowledge in the relevant subject and curriculum areas, have a sound knowledge of learners' different ways of organizing their learning, demonstrate knowledge and understanding of how different learning styles impact on teaching, reflect thoroughly on the effectiveness of teaching approaches, demonstrate good knowledge and understanding of how to use assessment to support learning, and identify their own training needs and take responsibility for addressing them through lifelong learning. Who are the standards for? The standards apply to student teachers on pre-service teacher training courses working towards meeting the standards by the end of their course. All beginning teachers in their induction year in schools. All in-service teachers in schools, who are covered by the 2016 new NTC frameworks for career progression and promotion. The standards serve as a point of reference for all standards and competencies. The National Teaching Council will use the teachers' standards in assessing cases of any misconduct by any member of the teaching profession. The National Teaching Council for the licensing of teachers after induction. The NTC will use the teachers' standards as a benchmark for the renewal of teachers' license. All those institutions involved in the training and development of teachers, including universities and colleges, both public and private, vocational, technical and academic. Teacher educators will use it as a guide in the preparation of curricula and courses for teacher training. District education directors, circuit supervisors, teacher unions, head teachers and mentors in schools will also need to use the teachers' standards as a guide to inform their work, serve as a common point of reference. How were the standards developed? The development of the standards arose from the need to consolidate the different standards being used in institutions offering initial teacher training and those who provide continuing professional development into a national standard, to ensure that the development of student teachers is guided by the same set of standards. The standards were developed from a number of sources, including Assessment tools used by the University of Cape Coast and University of Education, Winneba, for assessing student teachers during on-campus teaching and practicum. Handbook for principal teacher aspirants by the Ghana Education Service. Manual for student teachers on school attachment. Handbook on mentorship and the student-teacher competence matrix. Survey of national teaching standards in more than 8 countries. Involvement of practitioners across all sectors and other key stakeholders, including the National Teaching Council, National Council for Tertiary Education, National Accreditation Board, Ghana Education Service, National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, National Inspectorate Board, Principals of Colleges of Education, Teacher Unions on Teacher Education Universities. An ad hoc vetting committee on teachers' standards made up of members from the above regulatory bodies reviewed the draft standards prior to full validation on December 7, 2015. The stakeholders worked to ensure that the standards are embedded in the Ghanaian context, are realistic and achievable by the majority of Ghanaian teachers, if not all. For in-service teachers. Specific to the in-service teachers, a pilot study was also conducted in 5 districts: Shio Judku, Ajamako Inyamisayam, Upper Mania Krobo, Savilag Nanton, Ankasen and Ankana Municipal, to obtain evidence-based data as to how the career progression standards would help in promoting CPD of teachers. What is the legal status of the teachers' standards? The 2008 Education Act established the National Teaching Council, and it is responsible for establishing frameworks around teachers' employment, continuous professional development and periodic review of professional practice, and ethical standards. The NTC has overall responsibility to license teachers by law. These standards define the minimum levels of practice expected of student teachers and teachers in order to be licensed. It must be noted that during the training and the period of induction, the standards continue to define the level of practice at which all qualified teachers are expected to perform. Universities and colleges of education must ensure that the design and content of their pre-service programs and their delivery allow student teachers to be successfully assessed against the standards by the end of their period of training. This will particularly be relevant for the school practicum components that must provide extended and guided periods of teaching in classrooms. Opportunities must be given to those already teaching in schools to apply their practice to the teachers' standards over a given period of time. Student teachers must be realistically and fairly assessed against the standards, in accordance with what can be reasonably expected of teachers still learning to teach. Student teachers' creative and innovative skills will need to be assessed as appropriate to the specific context and circumstances they are in and for the level of learners they are to teach. For example, for very young children in preschool, or for young people needing specialist knowledge at senior high school. For in-service teachers. Specifically, to in-service teachers, those on induction as well as other UN licensed teachers must be realistically and fairly assessed against the standards in accordance with what is expected of them. Teachers' creative and innovative skills should also be assessed as appropriate to the specific context and circumstances they are in and for the level of learners they teach. If you enjoyed this video, what philosophy underpins subscribing to my channel and leaving a comment below to let me know what topics you would like to see covered in future videos and values, as well as the spirit of inquiry. Your feedback, innovation and creativity that will enable them to adapt to changing conditions and using inclusive strategies and engage by lifelong learning. The teachers are required to have a passion for teaching and leadership, engage with members not only in the school community but also in the wider community and act as agents of change. Over the years, Ghana has reformed and restructured its teacher education system in response to demands of new vision and mission for education to meet the demands of a knowledge society in which the teacher is an agent of change. What has been missing in this entire process is a set of professional standards for teachers that provide a strong definition of and a key reference point for the work of teachers towards achieving the learning and social outcomes articulated in the 2008 Education Act. The standards are, therefore, designed to codify what a good teacher looks like for Ghana. Recognizing the urgent need to improve the quality of the school experience and learning outcomes for all learners and to raise the status of teachers in their communities and country. The standards are aspirational in their vision, positively embracing the promises and challenges of the 21st century for Ghana. More importantly, they support Ghana in meeting Goal 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030 to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. In contributing towards this goal, the standards are also realistic and relatively few in number so as to be achievable and user-friendly. The development of the standards was also informed by a review of international teaching standards, whereby what is deemed most important is that teachers apply their content knowledge in the classroom, thereby demonstrating sound pedagogical content knowledge. Correspondingly, the practicum within teacher education programs can take up to 25% of the course. Taking both the existing Ghanaian standards, aims for teacher education, context, and the international standards into account, these new standards for Ghana emphasize the applied practical work of a teacher as a valued professional in a community of practice and envisage a warm and friendly teacher who has secure curricular, subject and pedagogical content knowledge, who plans for and uses different interactive instructional strategies and resources and so engages their learners, who achieves higher learning outcomes for all, particularly learners who are more vulnerable, those with disabilities, girls and those who need cognitive challenge, and who uses assessment productively in achieving those outcomes. How are the teachers' standards organized? The standards are divided into 3 main domains, each with its own subdivisions: professional values and attitudes, professional development community of practice, professional knowledge, knowledge of educational frameworks and curriculum knowledge of learners, professional practice, managing the learning environment teaching and learning, assessment. These 3 domains and aspects encompass what teachers should value, know and do, and intersect with one another to develop a teacher competent enough to teach at the end of their 4-year initial teacher training, as illustrated in the Venn diagram, where the synthesis of the 3 domains represents this competence. 1. Professional values and attitudes. 2. Professional knowledge. 3. Professional practice. The teacher's standards. 1. Professional values and attitudes. Professional development. The teacher, A. Critically and collectively reflects to improve teaching and learning. B. Improves personal and professional development through lifelong learning and continuous professional development. C. Demonstrates effective growing leadership qualities in the classroom and wider school community of practice. The teacher, D. Is guided by legal and ethical teacher codes of conduct in his or her development. As a professional teacher, E. Engages positively with colleagues, learners, parents, school management, committees, parent-teacher associations, and wider public as part of a community of practice. F. Develops a positive teacher identity and acts as a good role model for students. G. Sees his or her role as a potential agent of change in the school, community and country. 2. Professional knowledge. Knowledge of educational frameworks and curriculum. The teacher, A. Demonstrates familiarity with the education system and key policies guiding it. B. Has comprehensive knowledge of the official school curriculum, including learning outcomes. C. Has secure content knowledge, pedagogical knowledge and pedagogical content knowledge for the school and grade they teach in. D. At pre-primary and primary, the teacher knows the curriculum for the years appropriate to multi-grade classes, has good knowledge of how to teach beginning reading and numeracy and speaking, listening, reading and writing, and to use at least one Ghanaian language as a medium of instruction. Knowledge of students. The teacher understands how children develop and learn in diverse contexts and applies this in his or her teaching. F. Takes accounts of and respects learners' cultural, linguistic, socio-economic and educational backgrounds in planning and teaching. 3. Professional practice managing the learning environment. The teacher A. Plans and delivers varied and challenging lessons, showing a clear grasp of the intended outcomes of their teaching. B. Carries out small-scale action research to improve practice. C. Creates a safe, encouraging learning environment. D. Manages behavior and learning with small and large classes. Teaching and learning. The teacher employs a variety of instructional strategies that encourages student participation and critical thinking. F. Pays attention to all learners, especially girls and students with special educational needs, ensuring their progress. G. Employs instructional strategies appropriate for mixed ability, multilingual and multi-age classes. H. Sets meaningful tasks that encourages learner collaboration and leads to purposeful learning. I. Explains concepts clearly using examples familiar to students. J. Produces and uses a variety of teaching and learning resources including ICT to enhance learning. Assessment. The teacher K. Integrates a variety of assessment modes into teaching to support learning. L. Listens to learners and gives constructive feedback. M. Identifies and remediates learners' difficulties or misconceptions, referring learners whose needs lie outside the competency of the teacher. N. Keeps meaningful records of every learner and communicates progress clearly to parents and learners. O. Demonstrates awareness of national and school learning outcomes of learners. P. Uses objective criterion referencing to assess learners. How are the standards to be used? Standards are clear expectations of skills that teachers should be able to demonstrate. They may be used in training institutions, schools, inspectorate bodies, continuous professional development at an individual, school or cluster-based level, training, induction, and self-development. College principals, tutors, head teachers and mentors in schools, as well as student teachers and teachers themselves, will use the standards as the key reference point in their assessment, licensing, and renewing teachers' license in Ghana, and as a reference point for considering teachers' application for promotion. Evidence that a student teacher or teacher can meet all of the standards must be in the form of a professional portfolio organized according to the 3 domains. Evidence from college-based learning will be in the form of assignments, examination results and lecture notes. Evidence from in-school learning will be in the form of lesson plans, study notes, resources, assessment records, learner exercise books, photographs, lesson evaluations from tutors and mentors, testimonials, minutes of meetings and any notes from CPD courses, evidence collected by the student teacher or teacher over time. As a critically reflective practitioner, the professional portfolio provides the starting point for the continued development of the teacher in their induction year and for subsequent years. For in-service teachers. Specific to in-service teachers, the standards can also be used by the relevant authorities in education to support career progression in the teaching profession, by ensuring that teachers and leaders occupying various positions in the profession have met all the criteria imposed by the standards. In their career progression, teachers and leaders should be required to meet their training needs for a specific role before they assume that role. That way, teacher career progression would be seamless, and this will provide the motivation teachers and leaders need in order to ensure that learning outcomes are maximized. What are the roles of teacher education institutions? It will be important for teacher education institutions to come to a shared understanding of what each standard means as a community of education professionals, but also in partnership with head teachers, mentors and experienced teachers in local schools. Heads of teacher education institutions must ensure that the design and delivery of their pre-service curriculum supports student teachers in developing and reaching the standards. Links with early learning centers and schools on the University College campus and in surrounding areas may need to be further developed to give student teachers sufficient school and teaching experience to meet the new standards. Lecturers' tutors may need recent and relevant school experience, particularly if they have not been teachers themselves at the level at which they are training student teachers to work in. Lecturers' tutors will also need professional development to understand the standards and to redesign their teaching to support this, in both content and the pedagogy they use. They will need to support student teachers to reflect back on their various school experiences and to make sense of what they have learned. Universities, colleges with schools on campus provide ideal opportunities for lecturers' tutors to observe classes with their student teachers, to model exemplary teaching themselves and to work alongside teachers in guiding and assessing student teachers. Tutors will also need training and opportunities to work more closely with mentors and supervisors in schools. Schools' head teachers will need to work in partnership with universities, colleges in accommodating student teachers so that they can fully experience what it means to be a teacher, particularly for professional values and attitudes. Mentors and supervisors will need to work with their student teachers, carrying out joint planning sessions with them and allowing student teachers to work with a particular child or group of children, accompany their mentor to staff and parent-teacher meetings, teach and then in the final practicum take on the responsibility of several classes. Mentors will also have to undertake regular meetings with their student teachers to discuss progress against meeting the standards, taking action where there are gaps in what the student teachers know, can do, or have not yet had an opportunity to experience. Thank you for making it to this far in today's episode of content. I hope you found it informative and engaging. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and leaving a comment below to let me know what topics you would like to see covered in future videos. As always, your feedback is greatly appreciated. Stay tuned for more content, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.